You wake up every morning, rehearsing how to be less smaller voice, softer stance, easier to ignore. You swallow objections before they leave your throat. You edit your truth so it doesn't bruise anyone else's ego. Meanwhile, someone with half your talent but twice your nerve just claimed your idea in the meeting, got applause, and walked out unbothered. This is not fairness, this is physics. Power flows to those who refuse to apologize for existing. People pleasers are not kind. They are hostages of other people's comfort, trained to mistake silence for safety and exhaustion for virtue. Kill the people pleaser is not a call to cruelty, it is surgical self-rescue. It is the moment you realize mercy without spine is surrender wrapped in good intentions. The world does not reward generosity. It rewards clarity, consistency, and the quiet threat of consequence. Before we go deeper, understand this. These patterns exist whether you name them or not. Predators already read your body like an open book. You deserve to rewrite the script, type in the comments, "I choose power over permission." Now let me show you how the most dangerous minds in history dismantled their own obedience, and how you begin your own execution tomorrow. You were not born afraid to speak. You were taught through omission, correction, and quiet punishment that your voice disturbed the peace. A raised eyebrow when you questioned, a withheld hug when you expressed anger, a forced apology for wanting space. By age 8, you already knew harmony meant swallowing your truth. Compliance meant staying safe, and safety, above all, meant being liked. This is not trauma in the dramatic sense, it is slow erosion. The kind that turns a child who pointed at the emperor's nakedness into an adult who nods while being used. Machiavelli warned that rulers raised in obedience become easy prey, because they mistake submission for strategy. Your nervous system still believes conflict equals abandonment, so you fold first. You over-explain, you preempt criticism with self-deprecation. You say sorry before hello, and because your body remembers the cost of resistance, you interpret tension as danger, even when it is just the friction of growth. Watch what happens in high-stakes negotiations. The person who hesitates before disagreeing loses leverage before the first offer is made. The leader who softens every directive with maybe or just a thought trains their team to ignore her. The employee who volunteers for extra work to avoid seeming selfish gets assigned more, never promoted, not because they lack skill, because their body broadcasts, "I will yield before you even push." But here is the shift. Obedience is not virtue, it is outdated firmware. The same neural pathways that once kept you safe in a small, rigid world now sabotage you in a complex one. Your task is not to blame caregivers. It is to intercept the reflex when your throat tightens before speaking up, when your fingers hover over, send on an over-accommodating text and ask, is this protection or programming? One woman I worked with realized she apologized every time she took up space on a Zoom call. "Sorry to jump in." She deleted the phrase for 7 days. By day 4, people leaned in when she spoke. By day 7, she was leading the meeting, not because she changed her ideas, because she stopped apologizing for having them. Remember, chains only hold if you forget you grew. You think power starts with words. It doesn't. It starts with the half second before you speak, the micro tremor in your hands, the dart of your eyes, the slight lean back as if bracing for impact. Predators don't study your resume. They read your nervous system, and yours broadcasts approach. I will yield in pulses, the over-smile when you're annoyed, the upward inflection turning statements into questions, The way you fill silence with nervous chatter instead of letting discomfort do the work. These are not quirks. They are surrender flags. And the world, especially the strategically ruthless, scans for them like sonar. In 2024, researchers at Stanford analyzed over 2,000 executive meetings using AI motion tracking. They found decision-making influence correlated less with title or tenure and more with postural consistency. How rarely a person adjusted their stance under pressure. High authority individuals held space. Low authority ones shrank incrementally, a shoulder roll inward, a chin tuck, a pen tapped 3 times too fast. These micro-signals triggered subconscious downgrades in perceived competence, even when the speaker's logic was flawless. Watch what happens in open-plan offices. The person who says, "No worries," after being interrupted gets interrupted again. The one who laughs off a stolen idea becomes the default idea donor. Not because they're unskilled, because their body confirms, "I will not enforce my boundaries." Predators, bosses, partners, even friends. "Don't plan this," they respond. Like sharks sensing blood, they move toward the source of least resistance. But here is the shift. Softness is contagious only when unguarded. Once you catch the tells, apologetic posture, verbal qualifiers, preemptive concessions, you can retrain them. One client, a senior engineer, recorded herself in mock pitches. She discovered she said, "I think 7 times per minute." She replaced it with "the data shows," not louder, not harsher, just anchored. Within 3 weeks, her proposals stopped getting sent to committee. They got approved on first review. You are not weak. You are unshielded. And armor is not worn. It is embodied, a straight spine. Steady gaze, silence held without fidgeting. These do not intimidate, they clarify. They announce, "I do not need your approval to occupy this space, remember? The first impression is not your outfit. It is your willingness to take up air." You believe generosity builds loyalty. It doesn't. Unrestrained giving builds dependency, and dependency breeds entitlement. Every time you over-deliver without reciprocity, you teach others that your effort is infinite, your time expendable, your boundaries negotiable. And the human brain, wired for efficiency, adjusts. Why negotiate with someone who always yields? Why reciprocate when supply is guaranteed? This is not malice, it is behavioral economics. You become the path of least resistance until you're not a person anymore, but a utility. In 2023, a Harvard Business Review study tracked internal promotion rates across 37 tech firms. High performers who routinely covered for underperforming teammates were 68% less likely to be promoted, despite stronger output. Why? Managers subconsciously categorized them as support infrastructure, not leadership material. Their generosity was not admired. It was relied upon and discounted. Meanwhile, colleagues who set clear limits. "I can help if you handle X first," was seen as strategic, scarce, valuable. Watch what happens in friendships. You cancel plans to comfort a friend in crisis. Again and again. Until your calendar is a graveyard of broken commitments to yourself. Then one day you ask for an hour of their time and they're swamped. Not because they're evil, because you trained them. Your needs are flexible. Theirs are urgent, kindness without cost signals, disposability, and the brain treats disposable resources carelessly. Machiavelli observed that rulers who gave too freely were soon taken for granted and then overthrown by those they empowered. He wrote, Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous, not a moral judgment. A diagnostic. When you remove the risk of loss, you remove the incentive for respect. But here is the shift. Sustainable generosity requires friction. A mentorship with clear terms, a favor exchanged, not donated, a yes that includes, and here's what I need in return, not transactional. Relational, when you start giving from surplus, not sacrifice. People recalibrate. They see your time as finite, your energy as precious. Your yes as earned. One executive stopped saying sure and started saying, I can do that if we deprioritize Project Y. Within a month, her team began proposing trade-offs before asking, respect returned, not through demands, but through calibrated scarcity. Remember, you are not a well, you are a fire. And fire that burns for free gets walked through. You were taught that rudeness is moral failure. It isn't. Uncontrolled rudeness is weakness. Controlled rudeness is sovereignty, broadcast in real time. It is the deliberate introduction of friction to reset expectations. To prove you are not infinitely accommodating, the world adjusts not to your words, but to your unwillingness to smooth every edge. A delayed reply. A meeting declined without explanation. A question met with silence instead of over-clarification. These are not slights. They are boundary sonar pings. And the moment you deploy them, predators recalculate. In early 2025, when Satya Nadella restructured Microsoft's leadership team, he instituted what insiders called the 3-day rule. No executive requests. Budget, headcount, priority shifts, received same-day responses. Even from the CEO, not out of arrogance. To break the culture of urgency as leverage, within 6 months, proposal quality rose 41%. People stopped demanding. They started preparing. Friction didn't reduce collaboration. It purified it. Watch what happens when you stop reflexively filling silence. In negotiations, the first person to speak after a pause loses leverage. In relationships, the one who always initiates contact becomes the emotional custodian. Controlled rudeness flips that. A text unanswered for 12 hours doesn't mean you're cruel. It means your attention is earned, not assumed. A no delivered without justification doesn't mean you're cold. It means your time has architecture, and you're the architect. Machiavelli understood this. He who is overly compassionate invites chaos. Mercy without structure invites exploitation. But firmness, even perceived as harsh, creates order, not because people admire it, because they adapt to it. But here is the shift. This is not about being abrasive. It is about precision. Dropping a polite but vague, we should talk soon, for a blunt, I'll reach out if it's relevant, replacing sorry to bother you with, I need X by Y, confirm or counter. Each removes the illusion of infinite availability. Each forces others to meet you on terms that honor your energy. One founder banned the phrase "no problem" from her startup's internal comms, replaced it with "noted" or "scheduled." Small change, massive effect. Employees stopped apologizing for doing their jobs. Clients stopped assuming last-minute asks were welcome. Respect rose in direct proportion to predictability. Remember, politeness pleases. Friction commands. And the world obeys what it cannot manipulate. You think authority is granted. It isn't. It is assumed by you first, then reflected back by the room the moment you stop softening your stance, hedging your opinions, or prefacing truth with, I might be wrong, but something invisible shifts. People don't just hear you differently, they reposition around you. Not out of admiration, out of recalibration. Your nervous system settles, your voice lowers, your gaze holds a half-second longer, and the subconscious animal brain in everyone else registers. This one is not seeking rank. This one occupies it. In late 2024, during Netflix's leadership reshuffle, new co-CEO Greg Peters eliminated all internal alignment sessions, meetings designed to preempt disagreement. Instead, he instituted decision sprints, clear owners, tight deadlines, zero consensus requirements. No. Does this feel okay? No. How do others see it? Just here's the call. Morale didn't drop. Velocity surged. Why? Because certainty, even when uncomfortable, creates psychological safety. People prefer a clear direction from a steady hand over a collaborative fog from a trembling one. Watch what happens in team meetings. The person who speaks last after scanning for agreement gets heard. The one who speaks first, anchored, unapologetic, gets followed. Not because their idea is superior, because their delivery signals, this is not up for vote. Approval chasing dilutes authority. It broadcasts scarcity. I need your yes to feel valid. Unapologetic presence broadcasts surplus. My conviction stands regardless. And the group mind, ancient, hierarchical, wired for survival, instinctively orbits the latter. Machiavelli saw it clearly. Men judge more by the eye than by the hand. They see posture before policy. When a prince hesitates, the court fragments. When he acts, even imperfectly, the realm stabilizes. Not because action is flawless, because hesitation invites challenge. But here is the shift. You don't need to dominate. You need to decolonize your presence. Stop asking permission to exist fully in a room. Stop editing your tone to fit others' comfort. Stand when you mean to stand. Pause when you need to think. Let your no land without cushioning. The hierarchy won't resist you. It will reform around you, quietly, inevitably, like iron filings to a magnet. One VP stopped saying just my 2 cents before giving strategic feedback. Within weeks, her peers began preface their own input with building on what she said, not because she changed her ideas. Because she stopped apologizing for having them, remember. Authority is not taken. It is no longer refused. You think saying no damages relationships. It doesn't. It diagnoses them. Every refusal is a litmus test, revealing who values your presence and who only values your compliance. Guilt is not moral compass. It is outdated wiring. Echoes of a child who believed love was conditional on obedience. But adult power begins the moment you separate discomfort from danger. Your body tenses. Your breath shallows. Old scripts scream they'll reject you. And yet when you say no and hold the line, the sky doesn't fall. The relationship either deepens or dissolves. Both are victories. In early 2025, Airbnb's leadership team implemented boundary audits. Every quarter, employees mapped requests made of them and scored each by alignment with core priorities. Those who declined low-value asks saw a 29% drop in burnout and a 34% rise in high-impact contributions. Saying no wasn't selfish. It was strategic triage, and the people who resented those boundaries. They vanished from key collaborations within 6 months. Not fired, but naturally excluded, because their energy no longer matched the mission. Watch what happens in your personal life. You stop volunteering to host holidays. Silence. Then 3 types of responses. The resentful, fine, I'll do it alone. the indifferent, cool, next year, and the respectful, actually. I want to help plan this properly. The first group reveals themselves as users. The third, as true allies. Boundaries don't push people away. They filter for integrity. Machiavelli warned that rulers who feared being disliked became prisoners of flatterers. He who tries to please everyone pleases no one, not even himself. Your guilt is not virtue. It is unclaimed power leaking out in apology, over-explanation, preemptive concession. But here is the shift. No is not a weapon, it is a selector. A clean, I can't, no justification, no alternative offer, forces others to confront their own agency, no drama, no negotiation, just clarity. And in that vacuum, respect either grows or the pretense ends. One client, a therapist, banned. Let me check my calendar and replaced it with, that doesn't work for me. Within 2 months, 40% of her casual referrals stopped asking. The remaining 60% began proposing times she preferred. Her schedule cleared. Her income rose. Her nervous system quieted. Remember, every yes to others is a quiet no to yourself, and every no to exploitation is a sacred yes to your sovereignty. You don't become powerful by winning more approval. You become powerful by ceasing to need it. The unapproachable identity is not aloofness. It is self-referencing. Your decisions, demeanor, and pace stem from internal calibration, not external feedback loops. When you stop mirroring others' energy, something shifts. Your silence isn't empty. It's dense, charged. People lean in not because you perform, but because your presence implies something important is being held. And in that gravity, they instinctively adjust, lowering their voice, refining their ask, second-guessing their assumptions, not out of fear, but primal recognition. This one is not negotiable. In 2024, when Indra Nooyi stepped down from public board roles to focus on her foundation, she didn't issue explanations, no interviews, no farewell tours, just clean withdrawal. And within months, 3 Fortune 500 CEOs reached out. Not with invitations, but with proposals aligned to her mission. Her unavailability didn't diminish her influence. It concentrated it. Scarcity, when self-chosen, becomes stature. Watch what happens when you stop reacting. No defensive clarification when mischaracterized. No oversharing to preempt judgment. No reflexive laughter at condescending jokes. You simply hold frame, and others, subconsciously sensing the absence of reward for manipulation, abandon old tactics. The chronic interrupter pauses. The guilt tripper pivots to facts. The flatterer grows quiet, not because you corrected them. Because you disengage from the game. Machiavelli wrote that the wise prince must appear temperate, faithful, humane, but only appear unless it serves his ends. The unapproachable are not cruel. They are unavailable for distortion. Their identity is not up for debate, revision, or consensus. It is self-declared and non-negotiable. But here is the shift. This isn't built in grand gestures. It's forged in micro-choices, deleting the explanatory text before sending, walking away from a circular argument without closure, standing in disagreement without softening your posture. Each reinforces the neural truth. I am not here to be approved. I am here to be accurate. One founder stopped attending investor relationship dinners, stopped laughing at forced jokes, started speaking only when he had something structural to add. Within a year, deal terms improved, not because he demanded more, but because his silence signaled, I do not need this as much as you think I do, remember. Approachability invites requests. Unapproachability invites reverence, and the most dangerous power move is not domination. It is quiet, unwavering self-possession. You just walked through all 7 layers of killing the people-pleaser. Not as metaphor, but as daily practice. Knowledge locked in your head is decoration. Real power begins when you stop collecting insights and start executing one, not all 7. Not someday, one. The one that flared in your chest when I described it. Was it lesson 3? The moment you realized your generosity had become a feeding trough for takers. Was it lesson 6, that sharp exhale when you imagined saying no and not justifying it? Pick that one. Isolate it. Drill it for 7 days straight. Same phrase, same boundary, same refusal, same posture. Repetition rewires the nervous system faster than epiphany ever could. This is not about becoming cold. It is about becoming coherent. Use these tools not to punish, but to protect, to guard your empathy, so it isn't drained by emotional vampires disguised as friends, colleagues, or family. Imagine a world where compassionate people understand power as fluently as predators do, where kindness is backed by spine, generosity by discernment, and loyalty by non-negotiable self-respect. That world starts with you refusing to confuse humility with self-erasure. Machiavelli never praised cruelty. He praised clarity. He wrote that rulers who rely on the goodwill of others are doomed, because goodwill evaporates the moment it becomes inconvenient. Your goodwill is not infinite. Your time is not renewable. Your energy is not a public utility. 2 paths remain, and the fork is not in the future. It is in the next 5 minutes. 1 path. You return to your group chat and over-explain why you can't attend an event you never wanted to join. You soften your no into a maybe to spare someone else's fleeting discomfort. You shrink again. And the world adjusts, not by respecting you, but by assuming you'll always yield. The other path. You send 3 words. I'm not available, no emoji, no apology, no offer to reschedule. And you watch, fascinated as the request dies cleanly, without drama, without guilt. That is not arrogance. That is alignment, not to control others, but to never be controlled again. Which version of yourself will you build starting tomorrow? The one who negotiates their worth in whispers, or the one whose silence commands attention? The one who fears being disliked, or the one who knows being used is the greater tragedy? This is the choice every powerful person makes daily, not once, not dramatically, in small, unglamorous moments. The email you don't over-edit, the meeting you decline, the compliment you don't fish for. Power is not taken in revolutions, it is reclaimed in micro-rebellions. If this struck something awake in you, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. These videos are not entertainment. They are field manuals, and the war is already underway. Drop a comment. Which of the 7 lessons hit you hardest? Was it the childhood programming, the exploitation cycle, the rise of the unapproachable self? Tell me. Your answer will shape the next speech. Walk with your spine high and your voice steady, because the world bends for the one who no longer bends for anyone.